ba?
Oo.
Hindi naman sasagip yung hangin.
Ha?
Hindi naman sasagip yung aircon.
Sir,
Hey,
are you ready?
Topitana Vlog. Lights, camera, action. This here is a Kaicene CX70. It's an SUV with a 1.5-liter gasoline engine with 150 horsepower and a 6-speed automatic transmission. A car made from China with a lot of value. What should you know about it? Well, let's find out. Let's begin with an exterior tour. So this is the front grille of the Kaicene CX70. Alright, it does look a little bit like its American and European counterparts. You already know what brands they are, but there are some things that do stand out about it. Starting with the front grille. It's a mesh grille, really interesting there, gives it a bit of a pristine look along with those chrome accents that you can see. Along with the mesh grille, you can see the Kaicene logo. Looks a little bit like a spaceship, no? If you agree, comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. Aside from that, this car also has daytime running headlights, and aside from the DRLs, it also has halogen lights which do activate whenever you turn off the DRLs. Alright, so you've seen the front, you've seen everything about it. Now let's go to the side for a quick tour. Now from the side of the car, this is where you can really see the character of the Kaicene CX70. Alright, from the side you can see this pillar here, really interesting, reminds you of certain vehicles, but the other things you do notice for this car though are the repeaters on the side mirrors. It also has wide opening doors which makes going in and out easier for you, and also it has Chaoyang tires and those plastic bumpers, all of which very functional and very proper and very stable for this car. One of the other interesting things I noticed about this car though is this special button here. Now what does this special button mean? It means that the car has smart key access. Smart key means you can open the car, open and close without having to use a key. See?
Roof rail.
Now other provisions for the vehicle which you could see from the side are provisions for roof rails and an antenna. Aside from that, this car also has a sunroof. So we've looked at the side of the vehicle. Time to give you a tour of how this car looks like from the back. Move the car, please. So this is the back of the Kaicene CX70. There are some similarities to some American and European counterparts, but there are distinctions as well. In the back, you can see the rear spoiler with the rear brake light, and of course brake lights at the bottom, and hazards and signal lights here on the side. In addition, at the bottom, you do have provisions for rear reflectors and rear backup lights here as well. Aside from that, from your plastic bumpers, you can also see provisions for backup sensors, and up here is a parking sensor. So let's open the rear door and see what else this car has. Now from the back of the car, you can see your third row seats and provisions for luggage space. In addition, there is space for a full spare tire at the bottom and provisions for a rear power outlet. Another thing about this car, luggage space does get bigger when you fold the third row seats, although the third row seats are just a little bit tricky to fold because it's not a one-step procedure. This is the third row seats, and as you can see, I'm 6 feet tall and look at how much space I have here. What more if you fold the third row seats? Alright, we've talked about the seats, we've talked about some of the space. How about let's go inside and let's proceed with the interior tour. Teka lang. Let's go. So stepping inside the driver's door of the Kaicene CX70, you can really see what this car is all about. Alright, proper mixture of plastic and a bit of leather right here as well, which is a nice touch. In addition to that, of course, your steering wheel is tilt and telescopic as well. Adds more comfort and convenience to your driving experience. More on the steering wheel. On the left side, you have audio controls. On the right side, you have audio controls as well. On these details, on the left, well, of course, it's the volume. On the right side, it's the source of your audio. In the middle, you have your infotainment system, which can help you choose your radio station and everything else. The only thing it doesn't have, though, is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But the auto climate or the climate control is right here at the bottom as well. No auto climate, but it's still a touchscreen, which is an added premium feature to this car. Pretty cool as well. More in the car as well, more things I could say about the car. It does have an engine start-stop system. It does have a heater, traction control, and a blind spot monitor, which you can turn on and off whenever you drive. Aside from that, one of the cool features this car does have is more access to more space here, which is pretty useful, and it does have a sunroof. Alright, so from the second row of the vehicle, you can see that there is a lot of space in the second row. I'm 6 feet tall. That's my preferred driving position up front. And here I am in the back. And you can see I do have a lot of space. I can still cross my legs. Pretty neat. But the car is pretty simple back here. No toys too much, no TV. But it does have a bit of chrome. And it also has big windows so that you could enjoy the view for wherever you go. In addition, this car does have a rear vent that you could be able to enjoy, especially in those hot summer days. And there is a rear armrest, although there's no cup holders. The other nifty thing though about this car though is that you could be able to slide the chairs forward and back so you could make way for the guys at the back. So this is the third row of the Kaicene CX70. It's pretty much Spartan here. There's no rear vents, so it could get a little hot on those summer days. And these seats back here, really tight for a 6-footer. Not ideal. It could get better though if you are polite to the guys in the second row. Now, other cool things about the third row though is that there are seat belts and there's extra headroom for whoever's sitting back here. But again, I only recommend this for short trips only.
The Kaicene CX70 runs on gasoline and is estimated to do 6 to 8 kilometers per liter in the city and 12 kilometers per liter in the highway. Once again, thank you very much to the Autohub Group for inviting us over to cover the Kaicene CX70. For those interested in how to get a unit, you may contact their sales consultant, Jay Barias, with his details flashed on screen.
Okay guys, so driving the Kaicene CX70. Okay, alright, off the bat, you already know what you're dealing with for its price. There's a lot of value for this car. And starting with visibility. Okay, with visibility, the windows are big, side mirrors are big. You can basically see anything and everything with this car, right? You won't have a tough time taking this through the city. I'm taking it through EDSA right now on Sunday traffic. So far, so good. Okay, but you know, the thing is with visibility for this car though, is that, you know, aside from all the windows that you have here, it also does have a backup camera, which I'll show you guys later on. And it also has a blind spot camera for your bottom right side there. Now, anybody driving, you all know that when you look at your right side from a left-hand drive car, the right side does become a bit of a blind spot, particularly that bottom right side. Kaicene solves that problem with this extra button here, which when you press that button there, it does give you a live view of what you can see there. And it does turn on. You can activate it even at speed. I'm doing roughly 40 kilometers per hour, give or take. And look, it's still running, just in case you need to move to the right. Now, if this does become a little distracting for you though, press the button again and you can turn it off. There you go. Okay, you just have to be conscious of how you press that button. The suspension is pretty good. You know, the suspension is pretty solid. Very soft and compliant despite the harshness of EDSA. All right. I've driven SUVs before. I've driven mid-sized SUVs, pickup trucks, and I find them bouncier than this. Even my personal crossover vehicle, which I use every day, this one rides softer than my personal crossover vehicle. But yeah, this is a pretty good car. You know, I like how soft it is on the road. Okay, acceleration for this car. All right, from a standstill, moving to speed, no problem. So far, I like how zippy it is. One of the things I find tricky with this car, though, is that it's when you're moving to speed from another speed. All right, like let's say you're going at 40, you're trying to go at a higher speed, it does get tricky. Now, is that a problem? Not necessarily, seeing as though this car only has a 1.5 liter engine producing 150 horsepower and 230 Newton meters of torque. Now, what does that mean? It just means you can't take this car racing, right? And then why would you? But you could take this car to the city. You could take this car to the highway. You could take your family with you for this. You could take your family with you on this, and it's a perfect point A to point B vehicle, and you won't have a tough time with it. Absolutely, you know, it's an absolutely wonderful experience. But you know, when you look at a car with that particular problem that I mentioned, a foreseeable issue that you might have in the future is fuel economy. All right, so driving the car, okay, so far so good. At a stoplight, just gonna tell you a little bit more about it. Steering's pretty light. That's the electronic steering working for you. You got sunroof, right? The sunroof's great, all right? Gives you just a little bit of extra space. Doesn't make you feel claustrophobic when you're stuck in traffic. I like how the gear is. It's really easy to shift to and from the gears, all right? And of course, aside from drive though, move to the right, got plus minus there, so you have a manual override. What else I noticed about the car, or what else did I notice about this car that I find rather interesting? Okay, the temperature controls, it's all touchscreen, right? No auto climate, but nevertheless, still powerful, still good. Could be a problem with the rear seats though, because that third row, the third row does not have air vents. So what's the problem? How do you answer that problem? Get some tint, all right? Get a tint. I think that tint should be able to answer that problem in a bit. All right, so driving the Kaicene CX70, one of the other interesting things I find cool about this vehicle. All right, so driving the Kaicene...
Okay.
Kilala natin yun.
Yeah.
All right, so driving the Kaicene CX70. All right, more cool things about this car that I find rather intriguing is the steering. It's really light, whether you're at high speed or at low speed, and that's the benefits of having electronic steering. And that does give you more comfort. Speaking of comfort, more of the other things about this car is that it's quiet in here. The engine noise, not so obvious. Tire noise, manageable. External noise, barely there. And that's a win, so it gives you more comfort. And that's a win for not just you as a driver, but even your passengers as well, so they can be able to relax for all of those trips that you do take this car on. Now, another thing about this car that I find rather interesting is how consistent the brakes are. And that's the benefit of having disc brakes. It's really firm, it's really planted, and you can feel it with the car, right? You can feel it when you're taking those stops. And one of the things I find interesting from this car is that when you're from a hanging position and you have to let go of the brakes just a little bit to step on the gas, you don't feel the car going backwards. I know, benefits of an automatic transmission and what have you, but something to do with the brakes as well, because it's still very planted when you're there. So, one of the things I find interesting about this car's transmission. Okay, it's got the 6-speed automatic transmission. Move it to the right, it's got manual mode on it. Okay, manual mode, pretty responsive. Just tap down a few gears. Third gear right there. One more up, that's fourth. All right, and you can really feel how responsive the vehicle is. Really, really good. And again, this car has 6 gears, so you can really get the best fuel economy for taking this car around, all right? And of course, if you do need that extra power, just go down a few gears. Solid experience. And just like that, here we are, BGC. So now that we've given you the interior and exterior tour of the Kaicene CX70, let me point out 5 cool things about it. First feature, engine start-stop button. Really convenient, especially when you're carrying a lot of things trying to get in your car and start the vehicle right away. A blind spot monitor which you can turn off and on with the press of a button. Feature number 2. Feature number 3, a sunroof which gives you that premium and fresh feeling for wherever you take your car. Feature number 4, a digital range cluster here which shows you how many kilometers you have left and the temperature outside, and of course your odometer as well, which goes perfect with the analog features this car does have. And feature number 5, electronic power steering for a car of this price range. Gives it a really, really easy feeling for when you're moving in and out of tight spaces. So now we just showed you 5 cool things about the Kaicene CX70. Let me show you 5 not so cool things about the Kaicene CX70. Number 1, halogen headlights to go with those PRLs. Second thing, these second row seats, although they're sliding, they're not foldable. Third thing, there is a power outlet for your gadgets, but there's only provisions for 1 slot. Although this car has a sunroof, getting familiar with it, how to open it, and how to open it all the way does get tricky. If you're not used to having a sunroof, well, you might need some practice. Another not so cool thing about this car, although it has a smart key, locking it does get tricky because there's no speed sensing lock and you have to press this to lock all the doors. And last but not the least, fuel economy. Yeah, this car is easy to drive, but it's thirsty on gasoline. So, what's the bottom line with the Kaicene CX70? Well, it's a comfortable car to drive. Riding, it's okay. Sits 7, and it has 150 horsepower and 230 Newton meters of torque. A lot of good value for the price of 879,000 Philippine pesos and 3 years warranty. thank you very much to the Autohub Group for inviting us over and being able to take a vlog of this car. And of course, to everybody else watching in, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on social media, and click on that bell so that you get notified for whenever we release new YouTube videos. In the meantime, I gotta go and send this back to the dealership. Bye, guys.